May the Force be with you.
There'll be no negotiating.
Welcome back to the Cinema Club podcast. My name is Christopher Amick, and I will be your host for today's episode of the Cinema Club, which is like a book club, but for movies. Every episode, we invite one member of the Cinema Club to be a co-host for the episode who will choose the movie or television show and join Nick or myself on the podcast to talk about the film or episode. Today, we are covering the TV miniseries, and we will be diving into the season finale, but then also reflecting on the season as a whole. With that being said, I do have Mark Evenson and Adam Cheatham here this evening. How are you both doing tonight?
Pretty good.
I'm good. I'm happy.
Awesome.
I'm
Love
also
it.
on vacation, so I have 10 days off. I'm just
Oh,
thrilled with everything
that's
right
always
now.
wonderful.
So, yeah.
Yes, you're going to Disney. So
Disney World,
Wait, hold on. I always get them mixed up.
Florida.
You're going to Florida. Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Last time we were there 7 years ago, I think. So it's been a while. Looking forward to it.
you get to bring your whole family. That'll be
Yes.
fun. Yeah. Before we did dive into the actual synopsis of the episode, I did want to give a quick spoiler warning, of course. But with that being said, to recap the season finale, Elsbeth is gifted the blade of Mother Towson from the Great Mothers to confront the Jedi, while Bridger constructs a new lightsaber using spare parts from his late master, Kanan Jarrus. Ahsoka, Ren, and Bridger make their way to the Chimera, which has docked with the Eye of Sion, but are confronted by Elsbeth and the Night Troopers, whom the Great Mothers keep resurrect after they are killed. Ren uses the Force to help Bridger jump into the Chimera, while Ahsoka kills Elsbeth. The Eye of Sion jumps to hyperspace, leaving Ahsoka, Ren, and Huang stranded in Peridia's galaxy. Haiti joins the bandits, while Skull is guided to a mountain by a statue of the Mortis gods. As Thrawn and the Great Mothers arrive over Dathomir, Bridger escapes and reunites with Syndulla and Chopper. Ahsoka, Ren, and Huang join the Noti and make their new home on Peridia, watched over by Anakin's spirit.
The final frame.
Yes.
I was wrong, hands down, that I never thought Thrawn was going to make it back to the galaxy. I would have bet money that Thrawn was not going to make it.
Was this a big enough win for you? By the way, I remember you wanted like a really big win for Thrawn in the finale.
Yeah.
Was it enough win, or did you want like total victory? Ahsoka and the gang kind of ruined all the plans for the most part up until the very end. And even then, they did get Ezra back.
A
Just
large
curious.
cost, yes. We had talked a few weeks ago how at the time I was theorizing that the Republic was going to be parked out when Thrawn came back, which obviously wasn't the case because they all returned. And so I was mentally writing that, okay, Thrawn's going to have to deal with this whole space battle and be super smart. But no, I thought that it worked out okay for me that Thrawn is back. I did think it was interesting, like you were saying, that Ezra's back now too. And then we have other characters' stories now in the other galaxy. But overall, I was pretty happy with Thrawn getting a pretty definitive win there in the end.
Okay.
Yeah, and he definitely did win that one. But, ooh, it was close.
Razor thin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had me at least thinking, is Ahsoka going to be able to catch up in time there at the end or not?
And I didn't know. And I was like, oh, are they going to make it? Are they going to make it? Then boom. And I'm like, ha, ha, ha. I was laughing. But I seriously didn't know if they were going to hook onto the ship and hitch the ride back or
Right.
what. And I like the fact that I was in suspense.
Yeah, that is a good point you make there, Mark. Is I definitely felt like this episode wasn't going down the predictable path too much. It was definitely keeping me in suspense throughout the whole episode because there were little things here and there that were unexpected, at least for me as a viewer.
Not a whole lot of predictable moments, I don't think, throughout.
I was ready for Sabine to utilize the Force in some form in this finale. That was the one little thing where I was like, okay, they've definitely been throwing that out there every other episode. That's probably what's going to happen here. But otherwise, besides big battle at the end, there wasn't too much that I was anticipating to happen. I had thought that Morgan Elsbeth is probably the most likely character to get offed. When we were
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
theorizing about that.
Yeah.
But I thought they did that really well.
She had a pretty epic
Stupid.
death.
The whole evil She-Ra bit, that was awesome. I appreciated that.
Definitely a step up from their first fight in The Mandalorian. Like,
Oh yeah.
honestly, after seeing that fight, I wanted to look back at the old one, and I thought that this new one was like,
Choreographed way better.
oh my God, yeah.
But did you watch the old one today?
Yeah, I did.
It was better than I remember. Is it as good as their fight in Ahsoka? No, it's nowhere close. But
But it's
it
still
was
really good.
better than what I remembered. I remembered it being bad, and it wasn't nearly as bad as I remembered. This was, again, outstanding fight choreography between the people with the lightsabers and the evil glowy death sword.
Now that we're at the end, would you say it's the best fight of the series or this season?
No,
I think I know where mine would be.
I still think Baylan Skoll's and Ahsoka's
Which one?
fight.
One or two?
The first one, just because
Yep.
I'm right there with you
Same.
guys.
the completely different fighting styles. That entire episode, fighting wise, was outstanding. This was good. The fighting in this was good. All the lightsaber work was good. Baylan's just, I'm sad. I want more of Baylan, and I know
Yeah.
I'm not going to get that Baylan. And
They-
what a way to just make a character so amazing.
Yeah. I actually rewatched the first fight scene just because I wanted to compare.
Sure.
And one little bit of it, I thought of really just small storytelling through the fight choreography. I was actually initially confused why she only fought with one lightsaber. But when I watched it again today, I realized the reason why is because she wanted a hand free to grab the map.
Right.
And that was her sole mission. And that's all she was trying to do. So she wasn't trying to win a duel. She was trying to get the map.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my God, that's great storytelling without even saying anything. I think that's the best fight. Episode 4, easy peasy.
I agree.
It-
I think
it
that's my
really,
favorite
really was.
episode, honestly, too, is episode 4 out of the 8. If I had to pick one to
It's a little
On
bit of
top.
a toss up for me. It's a toss up for me. It's 4 or 5 for me. Both of those were really good for me.
Yeah, they're super solid. They blend really well together. They all do, but episode 5 directly picks up where episode 4 left off.
I still think number 3 is the weakest, and it was also the shortest. And this was actually a short episode as well. I do find it funny that every time they get in fighter combat, the Jedi shuttle does get shot down again. Although it goes to show you how strong the shields are on that ship. One pass by TIE fighters that only hit it once or twice fucked the ship up. Previously, when they were getting just battered by those other fighters, when their
Yeah.
shields were up, they were
So,
dodging it.
yeah.
So it tells you just how strong the shields are in that ship. Sabine going and ramming those 2 TIE fighters, man, I was laughing. But there is something about the sound of the TIE fighters taking off. Oh, I
Yeah.
love that sound. Whoever did that forever ago was
Oh, yeah. And speaking of when they took off in this episode, I loved the shot that they had with Thrawn standing there in the middle of the screen.
That was an
and
epic shot.
the two
Yeah.
fighters coming on either side.
Ah.
I was like, ooh, that was dope. I was very happy. Right away, I was like, okay, it's gonna be a good episode. I back it up too a little bit. The whole witch ceremony was really cool, like with Elsbeth's eyes turning black and just right in time for spooky season. I really enjoyed seeing that. I thought that was really well done, honestly.
one of the things I noticed that I thought was interesting. So you have the 3 mothers, you have Claudia Black in the middle. She seems to be the head. The one on the left looked sad to me for just a moment that Morgan was accepting this. She had an expression that just didn't look thrilled. The one on the right was just, yeah, whatever. I thought it was weird, and I rewatched it and I saw it again, and for just a moment, she just looks, I liked her, but and I don't know. I'm wondering if we're going to see some dissent in the mothers at some point, because they are definitely 3 individuals, and while they seem united in their cause, they're 3 different people.
Yeah. Thought you might saw some cracks in the armor.
Just
I
a
want to
little
rewatch that because I didn't catch that.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I
Yeah,
will
well-
say, now that I'm thinking about it, I said there wasn't any predictable moment. Actually, there was some dialogue that kind of, in my opinion, heavy-handedly said that Morgan was dying. When there was like giving your loyalty, your life and stuff like that, and like the emphasis on that, I was like, I don't like your chances of you living through this runtime. That's the only mildly predictable moment, but I forgive it because it came in the really awesome fight scene between her and Ahsoka. So
Ezra, lightsabers, right? Because he
Yeah.
didn't take the lightsaber last time. I wondered if he was doing some pacifistic. And how do we open? He's building another lightsaber.
I thought that was really cool.
I also found it interesting that the color was very white blue. It wasn't white. It had a blue tint to it, which, and I did double check this, is basically the color that Luke Skywalker was in episode 4 and 5. It's that very light blue. And I thought it was interesting that he went and he built himself a new saber, because obviously it wasn't the pacifism. It was no, that's yours. And I did like that.
Yeah, when I was thinking about this last week, I was like, man, we really got caught up on this. And we should have known that Ezra was going to try and make a new saber, just because he always loves to tinker in the animated show. He always loves to tinker and be making new things. So then when we got to see that here in this episode, I was like, oh, yeah, duh. It was nothing I had to worry about. I did think it was interesting, like you were saying, that he went back to a blue saber. I know there's a whole thing about the colors, from my understanding as well. Is that a thing or not really too much?
Is it a thing? Yeah, it's a whole fucking thing, dude. It's lightsabers. Every costume club has different requirements. One club I'm a part of, the Sith can have red, orange, and purple. Another costume is it has to be red or blood orange. It's whatever. The only person we ever see that actually has a purple lightsaber is Mace Windu. I like if they would keep that, because I like the fact that the badass motherfucker's got a badass motherfucking lightsaber, right? I really appreciate that. Blue or green, who cares? This is one of those times I'm going to say, as much as I love Star Wars, sometimes Star Wars fandom is dumb. Okay. Yeah. We don't need there to be 10 different lightsaber styles based off of 30 seconds of lightsaber combat. I think it's 7 styles, and I'm going to get crap for some of my friends for this one. But anyways, we don't need to know that this light colored blue is because of this kind of a Jedi, while the dark green means who cares? They're pretty laser swords.
Yep.
And after watching them actually incorporate real world fighting styles, it's really hard for me to really care about the made up ones, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess I wasn't too much diving into different shades as much as, from my understanding, like blue was more for a traditional Jedi Knight, and then green was someone that was more of a heavy Force user. But I don't know. Like, I haven't researched it as deeply as you two probably have, honestly.
Do you know why Luke's lightsaber is green in Return of the Jedi? Because when they were shooting against the blue sky and they made the lightsaber that light white blue, nobody could see it.
Thus, we have multiple colors now.
Yes. Instead of just this white blue and this orangey red, we now have all the colors of the rainbow, which is great. I love it.
Absolutely. But yeah, I really enjoyed even the dialogue as Ezra is putting together that saber. I thought that was a neat peek more into that robot's past that we've speculated on a little bit as well in the podcast.
Yeah, that's the David Tennant.
Yeah, big time. I thought he was great.
And again, his sarcasm. The delivery is outstanding. No complaint about that character as far as they've done with him.
Also, I did want to point out we were right about the resurrected troopers.
Yeah.
Except for the Death Troopers. The 2 Death were already dead, which, noble. Of all the things I thought would not ever be made canon is the novel Death Troopers. Death Troopers was a 2009 zombie Star Wars book. And I can hands down say it is the worst zombie novel I have ever read. Guys, it's bad. It had honest to God zombie stormtroopers running around with blasters shooting stuff that would try and bite people. And then, of course, Death Troopers, as in the black armored stormtroopers from Rogue One, showed up. That also made it into Rebels. And then we actually have the Death Troopers that Thrawn had as bodyguards this entire time were undead, which I really appreciate the fact that somehow this incredibly horrible novel has now been made canon.
Yeah, I thought it was great that they're utilizing ideas from the non-canon stuff and bring it into canon. Even if those items aren't canon, they're like, hey, that was a cool idea. Let's incorporate that somehow into our canonized TV show. So I think that's alone awesome. And yeah, the black and red zombie Death Troopers that were fighting Sabine and Ezra, those were dope. I want a Funko Pop of that.
Yeah, that was a
right
good
now.
Fight scene too. That was good.
And I liked even the regular resurrected troopers. They're making all of the zombie sounds and their mics are all staticky and
their aim is still bad.
Yeah, but they were at least dead this time.
They got some valid excuses this time around.
And actually, mad props to the actors for being able to run upstairs in that costume. You have no visibility when you're in one of those helmets. You can't see your feet. And the fact that you had a group of them running upstairs and not dying was actually pretty impressive. I would never, ever try and do that in the armor.
I hadn't even thought about that, but yeah, that's terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I hope that gets explored even a little bit more in the future, if possible, because I was digging that personally. And I was happy that we got to see some of that, because last episode, we're like, okay, that wasn't the case, I guess. That's too bad. That theory died. And then, oh, hey, cool. It is a thing. Awesome.
I feel like this is skipping back a little bit, but when Thrawn ordered the ground bombardment, when the Jedi were going towards the temple and they got inside, the expression on his face, I'm like, oh, that man's pissed. Not even a frown, just a tight clenching of the teeth, and his lips were just tweaked a little, and you could just feel the rage radiating off of him. And I like that the actor was able to pull that off of just that little bit of work. That was well done. But yeah, he looks pissed. And I also noticed for the first time that his uniform's damaged. Right on his chest pocket, right next to the cylinders, right where the flap comes together. It looks like it's been stitched and repaired. Because otherwise he has this perfectly white, pristine outfit. But there it is. There's just a little bit of damage to show the wear and tear over the years on it.
I hadn't noticed that detail. Yeah, and I guess Sabine does maybe use the Force a little bit as they're approaching.
Maybe.
It was something where I was like, oh, wait, is she using the Force? Because she hasn't used the Force this entire time. And then Ahsoka's, hey, help us out here. And I'm like, okay, is she or is she not? It was nice seeing Sabine finally use the Force to save her life when it depended upon it.
Seems to me when several Jedi, that's what happens is they're about to get munched on by a giant furry monster or they're getting choked out by a zombie. They get a Force. And I got to give her mad credit for being willing to then Force throw her best friend after succeeding once with the Force. I don't blame
mad credit to Ezra
hesitating. Yeah.
I was like, hey, if I was Ezra, I'd be like, hell nah, I'll toss you.
I'll toss you.
But yeah, I did enjoy that sequence as well. I thought it was very Sabine accurate scene with her being like, hey, we got to do this right now. Fuck it. And Ezra's like, okay, I guess we're doing this. At least to me, that seemed true to her character.
Yes.
Cool.
And she had, I would say, a bit of a redemption with her decision making and staying on the planet after leaving Ahsoka prior 4 episodes ago.
Ahsoka was dead. Everybody thought Ahsoka was dead. Baylan thought she was dead.
At the very least, she still felt like she betrayed her.
Yes.
And not destroying the map when she could have and caving in. So she at least got a little bit of a redemption from that moment. A little bit.
But Huang said she made the choice she had to make. And honestly, I think the end there, Ahsoka, Sabine are on the planet for reasons, right? And I don't think Sabine could have made any other choice than to try and rescue. Now, did she make a choice to not go? She could have gone and hopped on the ship with him and they could have gone and had their own adventures. She chose to save her master and she did the right thing there. So I agree with you on that, but they're there for reasons. I think she didn't have any choice, especially with Ahsoka being dead. I don't think Sabine had any other choice but to make the one she did. And the show would have been much less fun if they killed the map and that was the end of it.
It would have been. But I guess when I think of episode 4, it's like, hey, I have this map. I can destroy it and prevent potential war across the galaxy.
Right.
Or I can, and I get it, save my friend who's been missing.
That you don't know it's live or dead.
Yeah. It was a gambit. And she really wanted to save him, and it worked out.
She was saved.
He made it back.
A little bit of a Uno reverse action.
Yeah.
Now they're stuck on the planet.
Yeah, it does beg the question, was it worth it?
We'll find out in season 2.
4 years, maybe, yeah.
But as far as the Republic goes, they now have proof. Now, whether or not they'll believe it, that's an entirely different conversation. But they now have proof because here's a Jedi who's going to be like, yeah, remember when you all thought I was dead? Guess what? Okay. That reveal scene, though, I like the fact that he stole Baylan Skoll's ship.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
But come on, man, you're getting off of a ship and you're walking onto a Republic cruiser, battleship, whatever it is, and you're going to wear the hat. No, you're going to take the hat off so you don't get shot as soon as you walk off.
I know it was definitely done for dramatic effect.
Right.
I agree.
And I did the fact that Chopper was the one that recognized him first.
Yeah,
I do like that.
Immediately, yeah. I was going to say the biggest gripe I had with this episode, it's mainly because for the bulk of the show, they've done such a good job of building said character, but the lack of Shin and Balin, I would say they had pretty small parts when you consider like how big of a role they've had in the show in this finale. Yeah, I don't know. It's just the characters are awesome. I want them on my screen all the time. And in this episode, it felt like they had the maybe 3 minutes of screen time
Maybe.
shared. Maybe. And like it was still great. It was interesting. And I was like, oh, what's happening? And then it was gone. That's the one little gripe I had because both of those characters are so interesting. And I didn't get a single line of dialogue from either, I don't think. But yeah, I need to know what happened to those characters. Obviously, I would imagine they're gonna try to recast Balin. I would imagine that's what they're gonna try to do.
I think they have to if they're
And
going to continue on with
ugh,
this.
yikes. Good luck to the casting director and whoever it is that has to fill those shoes.
Because you actually have two stories now, right? You have Thrawn and the Republic, and you have Ahsoka Pridia. You have two complete different stories now. Now, Ahsoka might go and be this. Well, we might have the Thrawn stuff. Hell, man, if they had started a show called Thrawn, I'd squeal like a schoolgirl on that one, right? And I could see them doing that split.
Yeah.
But I think, okay, imagery, right? You have the Hobbit crabs, and they're all like in these little crawling vehicles, and they have tiny little fires, and they seem like really healthy, happy people, right? But then you have Shin come over the hill, and as she's coming over the hill, there's all this smoke going into the sky. And you see the raiders, the not orcs, and her putting her sword. Again, I make fun of it by calling it Lord of the Rings, but man, that was a Lord of the Rings moment.
That was a poster moment right there. I was like, hey,
Right?
damn, like a wallpaper of that.
Now she's going to get this orc army, and now she's going to build up an orc army, and now she is going to start the construction of her empire. So I think she's on the right path. The closing shot of Balin's skull on the hand of the father, and you have the daughter, the father, and the son, and the daughter's statue has lost its head, was very, man, just gorgeous. And at the mountain, a little glint of light in the distance.
Yeah.
How are they going to find an actor that just, that was gorgeous? You also did see the owl
Yeah.
for Ahsoka,
yeah.
which has always been the sister, apparently, that's been helping her out this entire time. And we haven't seen the owl since Rebels, The World Between Worlds. And we definitely didn't see the owl any other episode that I can remember.
I don't believe so.
Not in Ahsoka. So that's why I think it had to turn out this way. Because if the daughter is showing up to let Ahsoka know she's still being watched over, then I think things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
And the shot of the Eye of Sion and the Chimera over Dathomir, when you get the two circles lining up, oh, that was gorgeous.
It was beautiful.
A lot of peak cinematic moments in this episode.
I agree.
And my previous complaints about the CGI involving the vehicles and the ground, I didn't even notice that this time. So I was very happy about that. I have no complaints about the CGI. They listened to us. There is one choreography scene that I did not like, and that was when Sabine steps past a stormtrooper and cuts him. That was very awkward. I was surprised they kept that cut.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I also thought it was awkward. Oh, you know what? Speaking of which, actually, I think it's worth mentioning. At the beginning of the second half of the episode, of the finale, when they're going into fight or whatever, I thought it was smart to have Sabine fight and seem lost, if that makes sense, initially when she was using her lightsaber. And like, she was trying to block everything, but thankfully she has the armor. She was getting
Oh, bro, she got hit right in the face.
Wait, she did?
Yeah, she had a helmet on.
Yeah, and
I got to rewatch that.
Before they go up the steps, Ahsoka and Ezra are deflecting back into the troopers.
Yeah.
And Sabine's deflecting into the ground and getting shot in the head. Oh, God. Hilarious, dude.
I think that was nice to show she still has a lot of room for growth.
Yes.
Although I did like that. I am getting better with the lightsaber. It's more than just a lightsaber. You need more than just a lightsaber. I don't know. Lightsaber seems really important right now. It's not wrong.
And then Ahsoka saw her struggling. Was just like, get out your blaster. Don't worry about it. We got it.
It's playing to your strengths, right?
Yeah.
You need a lightsaber if you're dealing with people with lightsabers. Otherwise, guns work just fine. Luke did that. Kanan did that. Ezra did that with his first lightsaber that was a stun gun.
I'm not gonna lie. I was pretty pumped for a potential just a force user fighting style thing, but it's fine. It's fine. It worked out still in the end, but I was super excited for just like a whole new fighting style of just using the force and hand to hand combat. That would have been cool.
To go to last episode, I don't remember if we talked about this, but when he does the double-handed block of Shin's lightsaber, did y'all notice that her lightsaber was like fucked up? Like right where his hands are,
Oh,
her
yeah.
blade was like warped back just a little bit. Because normally lightsaber is like a perfect tube-ish, right? Kylo
Yeah.
Ren's different. This one, it looked like he was pushing it out and it fuzzed there.
Oh, wow. No, I'll check that out. I missed that.
I did
Yeah.
see that, but I just passed it off as, oh, it's more like Kylo's. It's not quite right or something.
No, because her saber looks great. Every other time she's locked up with somebody, it looks good. It's just that one scene, and he holds it just long enough for you to see that he's fucking with her saber. And that was cool. I did appreciate that.
Oh, it's a good point. I didn't realize that.
And yeah, I want more Space Moses ninjutsu. I do. I agree with you entirely on that.
When it came to Morgan, I thought that, I can't remember her name, the actor that plays Morgan, I thought that she honestly did a lot more than she probably was given. She acted her butt off, honestly. Because her lines and everything were fairly generic and basic,
Yeah.
but the way she was delivering them was super top tier, especially in this episode. So I just wanted to shout that out because I thought she did a great job. And then,
Right.
of course, their fight was all the more emotionally charged due to that.
Yeah. I'm going to butcher her name, but it's Diana Lee Anto, I believe.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
she killed it. Absolutely.
She's been in a lot of movies.
Yeah. She's an actress, director, stunt woman, and martial artist. Oh, wow. Yeah, she has.
Chops.
Yeah. She was
Which
probably the right
makes that-
choice.
Oh, yeah. But it makes that first fight, that spear fight in Mandalorian, just a little bit weirder.
Yeah, because she has the background to have great fights.
I'm wondering if, again, I rewatched it. It's not nearly as bad as I remember, but I wonder if that was because Rosario just didn't have the skill level yet.
It's possible.
I know that Rosario's been training her ass off. I've read a couple things, I've seen a couple things, and she's done a lot of really good work to get herself to the point she is. I'm wondering if she just didn't quite have that level yet, so it had to be a toned down fight.
Yeah, that was her first time. I think that was about 3-ish years ago.
Oh, dear God, was it?
How long was Mandalorian season 2? I don't remember.
Feeling old all of a sudden now.
Shush.
Did 3 years ago. That's crazy if that's true.
About a
I
movie?
found it.
How
Yeah.
long?
2020.
It
is when
was
it came out.
Damn.
That's wild.
Yeah. Almost exactly 3 years ago.
Yeah, November 27 is when it came out. So over 3 years, because it would have been shot.
Oh,
Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
yeah. Not counting the air date.
That's some impressive improvement. I'm assuming we're right on this. We're assuming I'm right on this.
You get motivation when there's like, okay, we're going to do a whole 8-episode season for you.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be the best Jedi ever.
And she's pushing it, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder how many seasons they're going to try. I'm pretty confident we're getting a second season. The way the last episode ended, clearly they are shooting for season 2.
But where does season 2 pick up?
I have no idea. My theory crafting makes me think we're going to be with Ahsoka like the first 2 to 3 episodes. And those 2 to 3 episodes are going to determine, obviously, whatever Balin's doing specifically. And I don't know how, but some type of way, I would imagine Ahsoka gets back to the original galaxy. I'm not sure. That's my thought process. That's what
So
I think they're trying to do. But I don't know how they would do that.
I think it's going to be the opposite. I think they're going to book a Boba Fett it. Okay. You're going to have Thrawn and Ezra for 5-6 episodes.
Oh.
Right. And then it'll switch over to Ahsoka and whatever's going on in that edge of the galaxy.
I would be interested in that.
That's my guess is they're going to do that. And a lot of people have panned Book of Boba Fett for only being half a season of Boba Fett.
And then the best parts of it not being about Boba Fett.
Hey, and I did want to make a crack about Hattie now hanging out with the Red Orc version of Tusken Raiders.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're definitely the Tusken
Basically.
Raiders of that
Oh, yeah.
world. No, I think we'll get some Thrawn stuff, and then they'll do a couple of Ahsoka, and then they'll probably do an entire season of Ahsoka. That's my thoughts.
Honestly, what I think the show could benefit from in season 2 is more episodes. We can
Oh,
get
100%.
if we can get more than 8 episodes, let's make it 12. Okay. Gives you more wiggle room to like,
Tell some more
just,
story. Yeah.
yeah.
Mandalorian season 1 was 8 episodes. Season 2 was 8 episodes. Season 3
8
was
episodes.
8 episodes, right? And Book
Yeah.
of Boba Fett was 3
It was 8.
episodes, right? Or 3 episodes.
It should have been probably. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know you enjoyed that, Mark. I had a rough time. That's my least like Star Wars television
Andor
show.
had 12.
12, I think. Yeah.
Hey. Yeah,
That
let's
was
just do
good.
that. Let's follow this.
I think it definitely benefited from having
Boba Fett was 7.
Dang, there's only 7.
It's only 7.
like
Wow.
2 episodes of those weren't even taking place on Tatooine.
It was only episode 5, which was the Mandalorian reunites with the survivors of his tribe.
Snap. The Obi-Wan show was only 6 episodes.
Yeah, that was pretty limited.
Yeah, but I don't think they could have gone on much longer than that.
That's fair. That's fair. There's a lot of cool moments in it.
No, for
And
sure.
few silly moments, but that's okay.
The ending of that show where you have Darth Vader, he was weak and I killed him, and Obi-Wan says, okay, goodbye, Darth. I appreciated that. Actually,
Oh, yeah.
It makes a little bit of episode 4 make a little bit more sense. Right?
Oh, yeah. There was a lot of great moments for sure in that show.
The fact that Obi-Wan had Darth Vader on fire and injured twice and didn't kill him, dude.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to have your son kill you.
Random aside, just thinking about it, I saw this video talking about the fight between Anakin and Dooku, that they didn't do this version of the fight. And I think it would have been one of the best fights in Star Wars history because there's film of it.
Yes.
Oh, are you aware of the fight scene I'm talking about? It had so many nice little story elements, and he was trying to get Anakin mad, and the more mad he got, the stronger he got throughout the fight. And the fight starts off with him using one hand because he doesn't respect him, and then gradually he's starting to realize he's like outmatched and stuff, and he eventually has to go to 2 hands. And there's so much story being told, and eventually they lock sabers, and Anakin forces his saber on his eye, and he damages his eye. And I think the climax of the fight scene is he does a flip over him, and I think that it's the exact same flip that he does against his
Obi-Wan, but fails.
But it makes so much more sense why he does that if you have that fight scene in there, because he's so overconfident. And I was just like, oh man, why was this cut? It was so sad.
Okay, I have seen it, and it looks like it's a combination of actual shot footage and stuntman footage, if I remember the
Yeah.
video. Amazing fight, and it's easily 2 to 3 times as long, right? But what did you say? You thought it would be the what again?
I think one of the best.
Okay. You can't have the absolute best fight in the entire fucking movie in the first 10 minutes when you have to do the Obi-Wan and Anakin fight at the end. That has to be the most incredible fight. And that's why you have stupidity of chains and flying and all that crap.
Maybe you scale it back a little bit, but you still put in those story beats in the fight, because I think those story beats informs that final fight so much more.
Especially that flip. And we could even make the joke that the flip, they were on even ground. So that's why the flip succeeded while he tried to flip on high ground. And that's why he lost. I agree with you in principle, but I understand why they chopped that fight. It was too good, but it would have been nice if they could have kept the story elements.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'll send you that video. It blew my mind.
Good.
I was just so surprised that it just got completely cut. It's like, ugh, shame.
I was going to say, speaking of Anakin, I don't know about how you guys felt about it, but I really enjoyed him being at the end of the episode. I don't know why. It was giving me chills. And it just is a really solid send-off, I thought, for the season as a whole. Or if this ends up being one and done, the show as a whole.
There's no way. Disney has too much money. I think the show was successful.
Sink some more
enough.
in here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The show's been successful. I like The Mandalorian. There's parts of Andor I like. There's parts of Kenobi I like. Ahsoka's, I honestly think, the best out of all of them so far. And it's weird because I can easily pick and choose from the 3 seasons of Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett and make a season of just amazing TV. 8 episodes of just amazing TV. That's 4 years of TV I'm doing to make a year. I don't have to do that with Ahsoka. Every single episode has cool things that I've enjoyed, that I've liked, that I am thrilled they did, and that I want them to do more of.
And every week we were
Yeah.
just as excited to come back, if
Yeah.
not more.
I'll give The Mandalorian its credit in the sense that I was just so used to seeing Star Wars in a movie format.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Mandalorian opened my eyes. Wait, I can see this in an episodic format and absolutely love it. And it takes a little bit to kind of perfect whatever you're doing. I think Ahsoka's, out of all the shows, has been the most consistent throughout the whole season.
100%.
Out of all the
yeah.
shows.
But I'm not surprised. We got 6 seasons of content, 6 series, right? Even if the shortest one was 6 episodes, that's still 36, 40, 44 odd fucking episodes, right? Something in there before they did this. By God, they better have gotten better. But they have. Every single one of these shows has unique content that is very well done, that is very good, and that is enjoyable. Adam, did they bonk, or do you think they pulled it off? Because that was your concern. You had such a high opinion and you
Yeah.
wanted it. Did they succeed?
I would say, for the most part, yes. I didn't feel bad coming out of the last episode, which is what I was worried about.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely didn't like completely just drop the ball because I would have said it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just the PTSD from past shows that I loved so much.
Yeah.
The two that stick out in my brain the most is Dexter and Game of Thrones. Both of those shows they're just so great. And then for Dexter, it's like the final 2.5, 3 seasons. But Game of Thrones, it was like peak fiction. And then the creators just were done. It's so funny in hindsight. They was like, yeah, we want to do our own little Star Wars thing. And so we're going to end this show. And so they just wrapped up like that final season so fast and it just didn't work. And then they didn't even get to do their Star Wars show, which I found so funny. It's like the reason why you wrapped this up so fast was so you can get into Star Wars, and then you didn't even do it. So you ruined 2 shows with 1 stone. Thanks. Ugh, I was so sad.
But yeah, I felt like the season finale did a really nice job in this show specifically.
No, I did not feel any type of unintentional anger or grief watching this.
And we all have hopes for another season of this. We're all looking forward to it.
Definitely.
I'll watch another season of Mandalorian happily. I can't see them doing another season of Obi-Wan.
I know McGregor wants it.
Oh,
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if they can figure out a way to make it happen,
He's been pushing
watch
pretty
it.
hard, from my understanding, for a second one. I don't know if it's going to happen.
I'll totally watch it. They can figure out how
me
to
too.
work. But yeah,
Huh.
I can safely say at the end of Ahsoka, I would say pretty pleased with everything happened. I wanted more swingy things to happen, but I understand where we're at. Because I don't know if you remember, I was saying I want Ezra to die. I want
You're a
something
horrible person. You're a horrible person, man. Can't
I
believe
like
you say
the
that.
character, but I feel like that is a big, weighty, heavy moment that could potentially happen at the end of this. But yeah, that's fine. We can wait for season 2. That's fine.
But you know what? I actually had a moment of fear that they were going to kill Ahsoka in this episode. I didn't really think they would, but Sabine ran. And she's surrounded by stormtroopers. She's all by herself. The smack talking from Evil She-Ra. It was all there. And it looked like, holy crap, did they actually just kill off Ahsoka? And I'm glad they didn't. And I think the fan outcry would have been worse if they'd done that than kill Ezra.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I had a moment of, holy crap, are they really going to do this? And then Sabine came back and I was like, oh, there we go. Okay. It's or Ezra hiding away in its stormtrooper armor and somebody's stolen shuttle. He'll be fine.
Which I did think it was cool. From my recollection, Ahsoka said something along the lines to Sabine of, oh, I was going to be here for you. And then Sabine came back, for me personally, redeeming herself a little bit as a character in the show, where, hey, I'm going to go back instead of going on with Ezra, my buddy. I'm going to go back and be with Ahsoka.
But there's a difference between leaving your dead master behind
I
and
know.
leaving your living master. But there's skill there.
She almost left her, though, still. It was her idea to leave.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, let's go jump on this thing. Oh, wait,
She
shit.
was also told, you two go do this, you two go.
Sure,
And
sure.
Ezra, we don't see what happened on the flight, but Ezra could have, in his stormtrooper armor, made it to one of the reactors and blown it up. We've seen Maul do that, right? Ezra decided to hang out in the shuttle and then fly away. But yeah, the Maul and Ahsoka, the very last 2 episodes of Rebels, Maul goes and takes out a Star Destroyer by himself without a lightsaber. Maul.
Yeah.
And Ezra's not Maul. But anyways,
I appreciate what they did with Darth Maul in those animated series because he was just voiceless antagonist in the prequel.
biggest
Right.
waste of a badass bad guy I've ever fucking seen.
And they somewhat made up with it with the fight scene, but come on. It's okay. They made a redemption of his character in Rebels.
There's a video by, I want to say, Belated Media, and it's called What If Episode 1 Didn't Suck? Okay. And
Okay.
we're going way off. We're talking about an entirely different thing, and I apologize. It's good. I highly recommend What If Episode Didn't Want Suck, Belated Media. One of the changes he makes is that Naboo isn't Naboo. Naboo's Alderaan. So when Vader's standing there and Princess Leia's homeworld is destroyed, no, he's not destroying Alderaan. He's destroying Padme's home. And it's little tweaks and little changes like that. Maul survives, right? They keep doing these things, and I honestly think it made a much better story. But 2020 hindsight and all that stuff. But yeah, I would recommend those for you guys because we're Star Wars fans, and it's nice seeing other ideas. And this guy actually has good ideas.
Is it like a recut movie, or is it just him showcasing the story he would do?
He's talking about it, and then he's got a friend who does some animated stuff in the back, and like we're talking like little cardboard figures running around. But then it's like actual animation later. When he gets one of his friends is like, yeah, I'll animate this for you. So it's good.
I haven't watched it, but somebody recut the Obi-Wan Kenobi show into a movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Moved
heard
some stuff
about
around.
that. I heard about that.
Yeah, I haven't watched it myself, but I have heard it's pretty good.
Editing is a wonderful thing.
Oh, it is, especially today. It's wild. I was meaning to ask you guys. So I know we briefly talked about the father, son, and daughter statues carved into the mountains that Balin was arriving at the end of the episode. So the Mortis god statues. What do you think the symbolism was, if anything, for the daughter not having her head? Was that symbolic of Ahsoka becoming the new daughter?
Sorry, I'm not.
Or was it just?
I'm like, I don't think there was any symbolism there.
Oh, no.
Evil's that
Oh, okay.
fucking way, guys. That's what it was.
Pretty maybe into it too much. Then I don't know.
I've heard that theory as well, though, about Ahsoka. I'm a little bit at a loss. I'm sure it means some, but yeah, I don't feel confident in anything, honestly.
Okay,
Just
yeah,
because
I
of
didn't either.
how
so I
little
was
we
like,
got.
oh,
Have you guys watched the Mortis episodes from Clone Wars?
it's been a while. But
Okay.
It's been a long while.
Okay, because the brother makes Ahsoka go evil for a little while, and she looks amazing. The brother shows Anakin what happens to him, which, of course, then Anakin becomes a nihilistic bastard because he realizes he's going to become Darth Vader. And then the father takes away both of those from them. But if I remember right, the father was attempting to get, I want to say it was Anakin, but it might have been Obi-Wan, to replace him because they were so powerful and they had such a good sense of balance. Because the father really was playing off the daughter and the son to keep the Force in balance. You can't have too much one way or the other. And it was a possible interpretation. That was a long time ago, and I'm remembering this, of Anakin bringing balance to the Force, was if he replaced the father, he would actively be bringing balance to the Force. And I liked that idea, and I liked the thoughts behind it. And I find it funny that they never went into it anymore until Ahsoka and Rebels. They end up finding the gate between the world between worlds and those things. But as far as I remember, that's the last time we saw the father, the son, and the daughter on screen in any way, shape, or form. I got to say, seeing that reveal, though, of those 3 statues, knew exactly who it was.
Yeah.
It's very Lord of the Rings, again, who it
This
was.
planet was the Lord of the Rings planet, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So many Lord of the Rings references on this planet.
Oh, and the score
that
they
shot was
played.
gorgeous.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
yes.
shot, and then the score they had during that too. Oh, I loved it. I don't think we talked about the score enough, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it in this series, but it was really good.
Yeah.
It was subtle and supportive. No Imperial March, right? Imperial March is such a
That's
huge
iconic.
song that is stuck in our
Yeah.
heads for good reasons. So it was never like that good of a song, But I want to say that I remember being disappointed by the music sometime in Obi-Wan Andor.
Yeah.
And this one, I don't ever feel that I was disappointed. There might have been a few times when it was a little too hoppy, choppy, happy for what was going on screen. But dude, they had K-pop in it for an episode.
Mhm.
That was awesome.
I definitely was, at least personally, listening to slash having the score impact me more emotionally in this final episode, I think, than in the previous 7. So that's why I made a note of it, because I was like, oh, like I really was tuned in through the music in this episode specifically. And I think that brought me to this thought a little bit too. Lately, like we were talking about this, Mark, when we were first jumping into coverage of the show, how the three of us all have very different experiences with Star Wars, which I think is super cool. And for me personally, this show really made me re-fall in love with Star Wars. And I am just so happy and excited about that. Because honestly, for a hot minute, I've been like, okay, it's Star Wars. I like it, but I wasn't in love with it. And this show made me fall in love with Star Wars again. So it was something that I was getting emotional about yesterday while I was watching the final episode. I was like, wow, I felt like a little kid again, honestly. So yeah, I just wanted to share that because it was a very special show to me because of that.
That's good.
I always felt that Star Wars was a Western samurai World War II movie. Okay. And you can see this again and again. Hell, half the samurai movies are Westerns, right? But you can see this again and again where like Rogue One is an outstanding World War II movie. And that's why it succeeds, right? The Mandalorian, especially the first season, it's pretty darn good Western, especially the gunfights and pulling up the Gatling gun or whatever. They have great stuff, right? Andor wasn't any of those. It's not the French resistance yet. Now, like, it will become the French resistance, and we know it's going to become the French resistance. So I think the second season of Andor will be much better than the first season. I mean, they ever make one. This one wasn't any of them, and it works so well. And it's nice to be wrong. Star Wars doesn't have to be a Western. It doesn't have to be a samurai movie. It doesn't have to be a World War II movie. It can be something else. And this one was that.
Well said. I think
Lord
it
of
was.
the Rings.
Sorry. Hey, maybe that's why it jived so well for me. I just, out of all the Disney content that we've been getting, honestly, since Disney took over, this piece just really hit home with me for whatever reason. It's definitely super special to me. And, this and Andor for me personally have been the two Disney live action Star Wars shows that I've really connected with and had just an absolute blast with. Which I did want to mention. I know you just said, hey, if they make a season 2 of Andor, there is a leaked trailer.
There is.
There is. It looks pretty cool. I'm excited.
Okay.
I don't know when it's supposed to come out, but I did see the leaked trailer on TikTok, and it was legit, and it made me very excited.
So I just did a quick
me.
Google search.
Yeah.
Andor creator Tony Gilroy announced at a Star Wars celebration event in London that the show's second and final season will debut in August of 2024.
A fucking year away.
Damn.
Oh, I want it sooner than that.
You said August?
That's what it says. Yeah.
Damn, dude.
I'm glad that you like it. For me, that's the weakest of all of them so far. Want it tomorrow.
Of course.
Star Wars.
So one thing I actually never had a chance to see was Bad Batch.
Yes.
Oh, dang. That
No.
not worth seeing.
Oh, okay. All right. I have feelings. The last season of Clone Wars was the Mandalore Maul bit, which is absolutely outstanding. Loved it. Ahsoka being an amazing and all those fun things. Obi-Wan admitting that he knew about them beforehand. Anakin and great. Absolutely good. A little bit of Ahsoka running around and having hijinks and doing her own thing. I really appreciated that.
Sure.
And it introduced Bad Batch. And that was the entire point. It was Ahsoka and Bad Batch was the entire point of that season. Okay, great. I've watched the 2 seasons of Bad Batch. I don't dislike the 2 seasons of Bad Batch, but it's
Don't
not Clone
actively
Wars
like
and
it.
it's not Rebels. Okay. Will I watch the next season? Of course I will. Again, this is me, right? Obviously, we all like a little bit different things about Star Wars, which is what makes this fun. It doesn't suck. And that's about what I can say.
Dang. Glowing endorsement.
I gave up halfway through season 1. Maybe I can revisit it. but that was my
Yeah.
personal experience.
There are things in it that are really cool. Like, how do former clone troopers survive in the Empire, right? The young lady, the girl that's running around, is the female clone of Jango Fett. She is as much a pure copy as Boba Fett is. And we know what a badass Boba Fett is, yada, 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 right? I like the idea. They had a bounty hunter that was Boba Fett's partner. She was in an episode of Bad Batch, right? They're going into the cloning stuff that becomes so important. We had a little bit of the cloning stuff in Mandalorian. We know that the cloning stuff is really important for the Emperor in episode 9. So they're actually doing things that build into the greater universe, and it's good to see.
I feel like it's a very not actively bad, not actively great show. Like it's something to throw on in the background for me personally.
It is better than Resistance.
All right. Can't miss event. I'll definitely check it out.
Definitely got to binge that one tonight.
That's what it sounds like.
Sorry.
I didn't hate it. But I didn't love it.
Yeah.
That's what
But
I'm
Mark
feeling.
watched 2 seasons of it. Hey, that says something as well.
Well, but part of watching it is the kid and I are watching it, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, how old is he again?
He just turned 14.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I'm willing to watch just about anything with him, just so it's him and I sitting there watching something and enjoying it. You ever watch the She-Ra cartoon, the ones that came out recently? They're on Netflix.
No.
Interesting show, right? Somebody recommended it. I told the kid, "Hey, somebody really recommends this. Why don't we watch it?" We absolutely loved it. Okay. She-Ra show is better than Bad Batch, right? Okay. Doesn't mean Bad Batch is bad. It's just not.
Right.
It's not great.
Not must see TV, basically.
It is better than the Clone Wars movie, the animated movie. That first movie that came out, it's better than that, hands down. That is probably the worst thing I've seen, honestly. That movie was probably the worst.
I don't think I've
so
watched
long.
that since that first came out.
No,
And
that's
actually,
okay.
Wasn't that like 07?
I was a little kid. I was like 12 or something.
Clone Wars.
That was like a long time ago. I'm thinking about it. It's probably why I haven't
2008.
revisited it. Wow.
2008. Wow.
15 years ago.
I was 12. Wow. That's wild. That's crazy.
Yeah, I couldn't give a single comment on that movie. It's been way too much time removed since I've seen that.
I remember watching it. I remember going, I'm not going to bother watching that series. Then I had the kid, and then the kid and I are like, "Hey, let's watch this." We made it through the film. He's, okay, there's shows. He's like, "Well, are they better?" I said, "I don't know." And boom, here we are.
Yeah.
Having watched everything. I think we've watched the entire damn series at least twice from beginning to end. They obviously figured out what they did wrong with the movie and fixed it. But yeah, Bad Batch is better than the Clone Wars movie. Hands down. No regrets saying that.
So I need to watch the second we end this podcast. I need to go
You
to
need
my
to
living
try.
room.
I did want to take a moment and just pause to share that the Cinema Club podcast is 100% supported by you, our listeners. So if you are enjoying the show, and if you are wanting to support the show and continue to help it grow, please consider clicking the support button on our website. You can check that out at podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/the Club. Thank you so much. And now let's return to the episode. I was going to ask you guys what you thought about Balin's being called. Ahsoka mentions her and Sabine are where they're meant to be. And then Anakin's watching over them. So if they do pick up with this story in some way, shape, or form, whether that's the second season, whether that's another show and or movie, where does it go from here? It just is a big question mark for me because it's a brand new galaxy, but we're also dealing with the Force to such a high degree here that it makes it so interesting to me.
I think by including the statue of the daughter, father, and son, and of course the owl, we knew this was an important planet. We knew that everybody apparently had left this galaxy. You don't build mountain-sized statues of things that don't fucking matter. Okay. Obviously, whatever Balin's looking at is really important for where the Force comes from, whatever you want to call, right? I think this is world building events for the greater Star Wars mythos. I think they've got an opportunity to do a lot of fun exploring the weird, fun side of the history of what the Force is, what is light side, dark side, how Jedi came about, how the Sith came about, and what the heck do the Night Sisters have to do with this? Because they're evil, but they're not Sith.
Right.
And we have had Night Sisters who have become Sith, who have turned themselves around. Ventress, right? Savage Opress ends up not being a Sith anymore, then going back to being a Sith. Yeah, whatever. But I think the Night Sisters are something unique, and I can't wait for them to explore that more. But there's still the possibility that we have undead stormtroopers hanging around, because just because the building fell on them doesn't mean they're gone.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, so there's
Sure.
always a possibility of zombie
Yeah.
stormtroopers popping back up. I like the idea of having a new galaxy, old galaxy, for them to do shenanigans in. We talked about this a little bit in the last episode. I really hope if this is a spin-off galaxy, perfectly fine with that. We
Yeah,
know
me
there's
too.
going to be humans because that's where humans obviously came from at some point. I'm excited for the possibilities.
So you'd be totally down if next season we get Ahsoka's just in this galaxy and that's
Perfectly
the
fine with that.
season. No interaction to the previous one.
What I think is going to happen is I think we're going to get the Book of Boba Fett. We're going to get 4 or 5 episodes of what's happening in the normal galaxy. And then near the end, a couple episodes of what's going on with Ahsoka and company. Or they'll flip it. But I think that's what's going to happen is we're going to get 4 or 5 episodes straight of one and then a couple episodes of the other. And then we'll go back to the Ahsoka show, for example, instead of the Thrawn show. But I'm perfectly fine with that. I want them to do it.
Do
I
you
want 'em to do
expect
something.
interaction between Thrawn and Ahsoka in season 2?
If they do, it's going to be at the end of the season.
Okay. To set up season 3, obviously.
Because if we want to speculate, Ezra's going to have to get Hera to sign off on stealing the car. And then we have those hijinks because right now they don't have a way to get to the other galaxy. So I think there's going to be something involving trying to steal the Eye of Sion.
Just hop on a well. I don't know.
If the Wells are willing to go back there after they got blown up last time, they might be a little,
Might be a little nervous.
a little nervous. We want to go die in peace and we're getting blown up. No. And I feel that when the Jedi ask the Well to do things like this, they're burning their one. Like, I think Ezra burned his favor. I think Ahsoka burned her favor. That's a
fair.
big thing they're asking. Both of them asked for big things. Ahsoka's was a little bit smaller until they got blown up. But yeah, I don't see being able to hop on space whales as something you do on a Thursday night.
Otherwise, he would have probably attempted to do that already.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you honestly think Ezra wouldn't have gone and stolen himself a TIE fighter and flown up and found himself a whale if he could have done it? He's stolen TIE fighters before. He's done this. This is a character trait. This isn't a stretch of imagination. One thing I am surprised about, though, on them bringing him into the galaxy, I appreciate them doing that. He was very light side, dark side, and they removed him out of the equation for what's going on that planet because he does follow the Jedi religion, but he was able to open up Sith holocrons, which means he's not right.
And maybe that's changed over the last, I
Right.
don't know, 5-10 years, but we don't know for sure.
But it's hard to say without it being addressed.
But I can't imagine Ahsoka opening a Sith holocron. I can't imagine that.
Also, not to go off too much track, I really like what you're saying, Mark. It was interesting that in this series, we got a little bit more of a scoop on why Ahsoka was hesitant to continue training Sabine. And I think this also plays into why she was hesitant with Grogu, because Grogu obviously is a much more powerful Force user than Sabine is. And I think that's partially why she was like, no, not training the kid, sorry. And here with Sabine, she can see the limitations that Sabine has. So I think she feels more comfortable moving forward with her because there is some unknown factors, I feel like, with Sabine, even moving forward after the season.
Grogu's obviously got a lot more deep trauma. We've seen this repeatedly, that he's had some really bad experiences and he doesn't want to be a Jedi. Okay. I can definitely see Ahsoka being worried about Sabine unlocking the Force and going off and killing every single stormtrooper she ever saw ever. Come on, they glassed her planet, right? So I don't disagree with that. And I think the reason why Ahsoka didn't take on Grogu is because she has her own mission. And when you got a perfectly fine Jedi over there who needs a brand new apprentice, why don't we go and hand off the kid to him while I go and stop Thrawn? There's a layer of responsibility, and one Jedi is not nearly as important. And I'm saying this, and I'm not sure if Ahsoka's show supports this thought, but one Jedi kid is not worth not saving the galaxy.
Yeah. I don't think it was said, but I feel like it was implied, sort of.
That wasn't her mission, but it was Obi-Wan's maybe.
She
Obi-Wan
said
was like,
Obi-Wan's
hey,
apprentice.
yeah, I know. I'm just saying Obi-Wan's thought process was, all right, this shit's bad. Oh, my mission is to take care of Luke and train him to be the future. And then we just have a different approach, I think. Is that what you're saying?
But he doesn't. He doesn't train Luke at all.
Yeah, he copped out of that one, I guess. He's like,
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
just hang out in the desert.
He was
That's the
busy.
mission.
He was busy sniffing the spice, visiting the nearby brothels, and having himself a grand old time. Not what was Obi-Wan doing?
Maybe
for
season 2 of
16
Obi-Wan
years.
would be good. Let's find out.
But
yeah, I don't know.
Uncle Owen finally allowed him to hang out and give presents to Luke. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's interesting to me. I think
Yeah.
it just comes down to a philosophy, individual perspective.
And also, Obi-Wan may not really want to train Jedi because he really f***ed up the last one.
That's valid.
There's a thing people put out there that Luke is Padme's son, Leia is Anakin's daughter. Because Leia is a freedom fighter, is a rebel, is a princess, stops being a senator and becomes a general. That's an Anakin arc, right? Luke is a pilot and wants to learn how to train people to be Jedi and diplomatically and things like that. I definitely think that Luke was a much more less violently inclined person than Leia actually is. I mean,
Interesting. I hadn't thought about it like that before.
I can see Leia shooting a Death Star. I can't see Luke, especially if it was Tarkin's planet. She would have pulled the trigger. She would have.
I do chuckle to myself that at the end of the episode, Thrawn is smiling at the end, knowing he bested Anakin's apprentice, not knowing Anakin's kids are waiting for him. I got a good little chuckle out of that one, just thinking about what they could do with that if they really wanted to.
I hadn't even thought about that, honestly. I hadn't even thought about that. But remember that Thrawn is one of the few people that actually knows, and he even heavily implied that he knows that Anakin was Vader. He's one of the few people in canon that does.
Yeah, he definitely led them and Ahsoka
Yeah.
in this episode. That's definitely every tool he has in his tool belt to get the W. I thought that was definitely interesting.
Which also explains the, oh shit, we need to leave. Instead of let's go ahead and try and fight. Let's try and negotiate. Let's talk our way out of this. No, Vader's coming for you. Run away.
Yeah, time to get out of town. Now, what other closing thoughts do you guys have? For me, I'm interested just to see Shin and Sabine stuck together in a different galaxy on the same planet. I also want to say bravo to Ray Stevenson, Sakno, for their amazing performances in the show. Balin Skull and Shin Hati, at least for me, have become instantly iconic Star Wars characters thanks to their performances here.
If I'm just being
absolutely
honest,
loved them.
I think they were my favorite characters throughout Ahsoka season 1. The most interesting, at least for me.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I'm
Oh.
right there with you. Them and Ahsoka were the three characters I was most invested in throughout the whole show.
I know a number of people who are planning on doing Balin Skull costumes because they like him so much.
Heck yeah.
One of my friends, she's offered to do a Hati costume if I'll do a Balin Skull costume. Yeah. There was actually one costume thing I wanted to bring up, though, that I completely
yeah.
forgot. At the end of it, on the Republic ship, the Mon Calamari pilot is wearing the equipment from the X-Wing pilots wear in episode 789, not wearing the traditional X-Wing pilot gear. He's wearing the Resistance gear from the later movies.
Oh, wow.
And I caught that and I went, no. And I rewatched it and went, yes. So I really like the fact that they're starting to incorporate some of these things into the show. And I really appreciate that. Sorry, complete total costume sidetrack on there.
No, that's great. I'm glad you brought that up because I noticed the costume that you're referring to and I was like, oh, that looks sick. I like it. It looks familiar for some reason. So I'm really glad you brought that up. As far as like closing thoughts on Ahsoka, again, it made me fall in love again with Star Wars, which I'm very thankful and emotional about in a lot of different ways. But in the end, very thankful for. And I'm really excited to hopefully get to see more of these characters and their stories in the near future. Hint, hint, Disney. But yeah, I had a great time covering this show. And I'm definitely feeling more optimistic towards future Star Wars projects moving forward after watching this one.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just happy we're getting more Star Wars, right? I saw the first in theater. After that, it was VHS. Just think about how tiny those screens were and how low the resolution was. The remakes of the movies were great. When I got it on DVD, it was great. And now that it's on Blu-ray, now that I can stream it and it's high definition and I can see everything, I'm just so happy that literally something that was foundational in my enjoyment of entertainment is so easily available, and they're still making books and movies about it. And I appreciate that. And I'm happy. And it's nice to see not complete total shit coming out of this. Because, dude, the legacy novels, the expanded universe, there were some bad books.
I have not read it, but I have heard a lot about them.
Get the Death Troopers book. Seriously, you want to know how bad it is and how poorly something can be written? Zombies and Star Wars. How do you f that up?
I'm going to see if I can get it on Kindle.
Ahsoka is how you do zombies and Star Wars and have it work.
Yeah, it worked very well for me. I really enjoyed it.
I'm just thrilled that quality stuff that I want to share with my kids, stuff that I want to talk to my friends, and it's really, really great to see. And that makes me happy.
Yeah, but it just is great that we're able to live in a day and age where on a weekly basis we can go sit down in front of our 4K TV and
Oh, yeah. Love
watch the
that
new
part.
Star Wars content.
Especially the 4K TV part, man. Ahsoka, for me, fits in between, this season kind of fit between good and great for me, somewhere in that.
Okay.
It's hard to pinpoint where I want to put it. There's definitely moments where I want to say it's great. There's moments where I want to say it's good. Definitely like top tier fight choreography, which is something I care about a lot. Music, which we already alluded to, I think top notch. I know we talked about costuming a little bit, but just general costumes, I think A plus. I feel like costume design doesn't get as much credit, so I always try to give credit whenever I can. Yeah, writing wise, it has built enough intrigue to make me want a season 2, which when it comes to story making, that's like the goal. Get people invested and wanting more. And
Yeah.
whenever you do wrap it, hopefully have a satisfying conclusion that doesn't make your fan base want to kill you. That
Yep.
is your goal as a writer.
Yeah.
So I think in that sense, Ahsoka knocked that out of the park. In terms of cinematography, we alluded to a bunch of really awesome shots in the finale. Man, they really brought their A game. But throughout the series, I think their shot selection and how it's been edited, pretty top notch as well. The only real cons I have for the show is like, how dare you make such an interesting character and then only put him in for 2 minutes in the finale? That's my only gripe, because yeah, did a great job of introducing 2 new characters that super interesting. I was so invested in like whatever was
Yes.
happening
Yep.
with them. But yeah, I guess end of the day, good to great show. Super interested in where it's going. I'm really sad about what we're doing with Balin's character in the sense of having to recast it. That's just that is some big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
I would like to think there's someone out there that can fill those shoes, but I would be lying to you if I told you I knew who that was. But yeah, I think the show is in good hands. And yeah, you wait, what's next?
Well said. I agree. It was interesting because, like you were saying, you're like, hey, it lands somewhere between good and great.
For me, yes.
Yep. And part of me totally hear what you're saying. Like, it's really good. Maybe what I would say, right?
Yeah.
But I think we can break something down on a very technical basis. But then, at least for me, how I view it at the end of the day is, oh, what did it do for me emotionally?
That's the most important
everything.
part, I think,
Yeah,
of any
yeah.
piece of media.
And that's my big takeaway.
That's my
me-
number one indicator if I like
Yeah.
enjoy anything is, do you create any emotions for me? And the stronger the emotions, the more I am attached to whatever that property is.
Oh, 100%. Mando season 2, that finale episode, due to that, season 2 is my favorite of
Yeah.
Mando because
Yeah.
that one episode alone just elevated the whole thing for me. And yeah, anyway, back to Ahsoka. I just felt emotionally super attached and loved every moment of it. So that's why I was just riding that high every week for 7 weeks.
I have feelings about costumes. Okay. Just going to go ahead and go with this. Suicide Squad came out in 2016. I like Suicide Squad. I bought it. I've seen it I don't know how many times. Rogue One came out 2016. Okay. Absolutely love Rogue One, right? We've established this. Suicide Squad won awards for the fucking costumes. But if you look at Rogue One and you realize the number of costumes and the quality of costumes and the fact that there are books published with just pictures of all the people in the costumes and they weren't even nominated costumes, we were talking off and on about what a high standard we hold Star Wars to, right? Yeah, this was 7 years ago. That is a perfect example. Every single costume in Rogue One was outstanding. They had new stormtroopers. They had 4 or 5 different type of new stormtroopers, at least 3. Suicide Squad won awards for costumes.
The
And
Academy are silly.
it makes me so angry Rogue One is overlooked.
Yeah.
So I always like calling out the costuming that is done because I honestly can't think of a Star Wars film that we can make fun of episode 4 for some of its costuming choices, but seriously, every single one has multiple costumes, lots of depth, really great visuals. The quality of the costumes and all the Star Wars stuff is really well done.
Top notch.
A lot of care put to those. And we talked about on Ahsoka, even Ahsoka's characters' various outfits were fantastic. Ahsoka the White, like I absolutely love that whole outfit. But you talked about how this show also introduced new fabrics and new styles of
Yes.
clothing as well into the Star Wars universe, which I thought was really cool to have that perspective coming into this as well. I don't always notice those kind of things, to be honest with you, but you do. So I think that was awesome to have you on the show to be like, hey, look at that. I've never seen something knitted like that
Yeah.
in Star Wars before.
Yeah. I don't think there was a new costume every episode, but I know there was a new costume at least in 7 of the episodes.
Yeah.
And that's amazing for the department to be able to just generate that much material and that high a level and that high a quality. Yeah, this isn't a movie that has 100 background characters in it, but Star Wars has. And in some scenes, there have literally been 100 background characters going on, and that's awesome. So I honestly am hopeful. This is the best TV I think I've seen in a long time. This is really great Star Wars. If they can keep this going, and I can't imagine Tony choking, whatever comes out next, I'm going to watch no matter what. And I just hope it keeps going in good patterns, which they are doing.
I'm right there with you. Really happy with the show. I think we talked about it when we were talking about Dread a little bit there. Where I was like, oh, are you guys going to watch Ahsoka? I've been thinking about covering it on the podcast. I don't know if it's going to be good, though. And then here we are now in October. And so, wow, I'm so glad that we did cover it because it's been something that I've personally loved doing. I just really appreciate you, Mark and Adam, for your time, but also just from a personal note, really great time covering the show with you. And I'm thankful for it. And I'll definitely be looking back upon the show forever. It was a great time spent with the both of you. So thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Thank you.
And thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime.
And that'll wrap up this episode of the Cinema Club. If you have not already, feel free to join the Cinema Club Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/cinema-club-TCC. And you can always listen to the podcast anywhere podcasts are found on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, and anywhere else you hear podcasts. Please consider also leaving us a review on iTunes. It really does help us reach more listeners. And also feel free to invite more new members to the Cinema Club podcast if you are enjoying the content that we're putting out. Also wanted to share that you can email Nick or myself at the cinemaclubtcc@gmail.com if you would like to be on the podcast in the future. And again, finally, we are completely supported by you, our listeners. So if you are wanting to support the show financially, please consider clicking the support button on our website. You can check that out again at podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/cinema club. Thank you again so much for joining us, and we will see you on the next one.